Welcome to the Stretch to Go podcast. My name is Ian Ray, your host. And today I have Jeff Kong, Tri-Covery owner. They do massage and flexibility. He's been FST practitioner since 2011. And I invited him onto the podcast to share his story. I'll learn more about how he got into it and obviously his mission there at Tri-Covery. But Jeff, welcome to the Stretch to Go podcast.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
So I always like to start off by saying, obviously you're based outside of Detroit, but what's your backstory? How did you get to Detroit? How did you get into obviously starting Tri-Covery?
Well, I kind of grew up around this area for the most part. I mean, I was born in New Jersey, moved around a bunch younger, but my adult life has been in Michigan as well as high school. And I originally went to school of physical therapy, realized I didn't want to go to school for that long. And my sophomore year, I was like, all right, I need to change my studies. And I went to exercise science. And there I actually I had to write a term paper, and I had no idea what my topic was. And because I had dinner with a friend and her mom was a massage therapist, I thought it was really fascinating what she was doing. And so actually my paper was titled Massage Therapy, True Medicine or Fluff and Buff. And that was the debate that I had to do. And I'm not a real scholar type of person. I'm just not like traditional school is not my cup of tea. I really struggled and I had to work really hard just to be average. But I really got into the studies here. I started interviewing massage schools and teachers and clients and patients of massage and the therapists, and I really got into it. So as soon as I finished up college, I went right into massage school. And from there, I got a job at a private gym doing massage, but also I became a trainer. And there I specialized in a lot of athletic performance and post-rehab from an exercise. So we did a lot of biomechanics, gait analysis, breaking down movements, and then retraining and setting up exercise plans to help retrain the body for these movements, whether it's just walking or running a 40-yard dash or change of directions and cutting. So, and I also did massage out of there too. And so from there, I started working with all these special types of clientele, ones that were post-rehab, post-surgical, and then the athletes aspect of from a performance perspective as well. And I did that for 11 years, and I ran that business for the most part, as their owner's right-hand man. And then in 2010, I decided got in a weird situation as far as my daughter was born, and I had to start my own business so that I could pretty much be a stay-at-home dad and then do some massage and therapy work on the side while she was at school. And it kind of just grew very organically from there because it was just me in like a small treatment room that I rented for $325 a month. And I needed about 10 clients a week to cover my overhead and give myself a little bit of a salary. And it kind of just grew from there. And there at that point, I was just doing massage. And then in 2011, I was talking to a friend in Arizona who worked at a professional sports training facility, one of the big ones. And I was like, hey, what's going on? And she was the nutritionist there. And she's like, oh, everybody's getting stretched out. That's what's new. And I'm like, stretched out. And I go, really? I've been stretching people out in my other job for like over a decade. And I'm like, really? They're coming from out of town just to get stretched out. And at this facility, Chris and Ann had already been working out of too. So she knew Chris and Ann and a lot of the therapists out of there. I was like, that's just kind of crazy. I'm like, all right, well, I want to dig deep here a little bit into this. And so I spent almost a year and a half trying to research FST. At that time, there was nothing out there. YouTube wasn't out there. I had no idea what it looked like. I never saw anybody practicing it. Their website gave a little bit of general stuff, but they were so cutting edge at the time, at least to me. I was like, all right, I'm curious. And I'm like, it seems like people are getting results. And I'm talking to other therapists that are in Colorado that have been doing it for a little bit. And they're like, oh, I'm a massage therapist, but I pretty much 90% of my clients, I'm stretching all the time. And I go, really? I go, that's crazy. And so I actually signed up when Chris and Ann did a level 1 certification in Chicago. And so I signed up for that course and went there, and it just blew my mind away. And like I said, I've been stretching people for so long, learning their modalities was different than everything you were taught in school and certifications and other stuff. And so I felt like a fish out of water stretching people. And I was like, this is crazy. I'm like, I remember calling my wife on the Wednesday in the middle of level 1. I'm like, I am so bad at this because I just can't get it. I don't feel any rhythm. I feel bad for any of my partners I have to work with, and I'm just not doing a good job for them. And it wasn't until Friday when, with all the levels, you have to practice on one of the instructors.
Yeah.
So on Friday, my final exam, so to speak, was with practicing with on Chris himself, and he gave me some great cues, and all of a sudden I felt like things started clicking, and that's where I was like, all right, I might be able to do something with this. Because the whole week I'm like, I just spent all this money, and I'm not sure how I'm going to use this. I'm so bad at it, and then it was then where I was like, all right, I think, okay, this is pretty interesting. And so I brought it home, and clients that I've been working with, and I work with a lot of, at that time, I worked with a lot of triathletes and runners, endurance athletes. And like I said, I'd spent a lot of time training, trying to change people's gaits and trying to improve things, making them more efficient.
Hmm.
And I would see clients that I've been working with for months, and I would give them like 30 minutes of FST and then reanalyze their gaits. And things were so much more neutral. I didn't have a lot of torque. Every time they stepped, you didn't see rotation in the ankle or collapse in the arch, and then internal rotation in the knee, and then a drop in the hip, and all this compensation patterns going. All of a sudden, everything looked like it was just free and moving.
Mm.
And I'm like, all right, this is big. If you can change a runner's stride in 20 minutes, and they would say, my legs feel so light, they feel like they're on clouds. And I'm sure a lot of the FST therapists that do this get that same reaction.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, this is pretty cool. So I got something that can really change somebody's biomechanics so quickly. And it's kind of like, I always say, fascia is like a wetsuit on the body. It's like a really thick, heavy wetsuit. And try running a mile in a thick wetsuit. It's going to be exhausting because you have resistance every direction you go.
Sure.
But now we just took off that wetsuit, and how much more free do you feel when that happens? The next mile is going to feel like a breeze in comparison. So that's what we kind of do, and there's a lot less compensation patterns and less inefficiencies in the movements, which are huge for somebody who's going to do the same movement for hours on end. Sometimes 4 or 5 hours.
Hmm.
So, excuse me. So yeah, so it just kind of just grew from there.
Wow. So FST in itself basically helped your business to kind of blow up, obviously, because you're a massage.
So my company, Tri-Covery Massage and Flexibility, stands for 3 ways of recovery. You got massage, flexibility, and exercise. And with those 3 modalities, you want to help your body recover. Whether it's recover from training, and we're just trying to keep your body moving properly, or recover from an injury or an issue or dysfunction of some sort. We want to use those 3 modalities. The massage, all the people that work here, I have 8 other therapists that work here, and so they're all licensed massage therapists, except for I have 2 trainers that do the corrective exercise aspect of it. And then everybody here is also eventually part of how we work is you get FST certified. Some are FST certified when they get hired in. And if they're not, and let's say they're fresh out of massage school, we eventually get to an area where we send them and set them up with going to get FST certified. And we have 4 level 3 therapists that work here, a level 1, a level 2, and another person who's hopefully going soon for level 1. So we all kind of work using that stretch. And then we have our corrective exercise trainers who work on the exercise aspect to help with the recovery. And all of that kind of comes into how to do it. You can open up motion and movement with the fascia, and then you can treat the soft tissue with deep tissue or trigger point work and all that. But how do you train the brain how to use that tissue and that new range of motion? That's really how you solidify everything and make everything stick a little bit longer. And that's where new range of motion becomes the normal range of motion. Is when you start putting it into function.
Yeah, that's true. The neuromuscular development, I think it's important for athletes. Like you're saying, I've seen so many injuries just probably recently, with Jason Tatum going down, Steph Curry. Injuries happen for athletes, but I've always wondered,
they're inevitable.
I've always wondered if there are, including FST. I mean, imagine if every single professional team had an FST person working, whether if the massage was including FST, which there are a few practitioners I know that are on like the Knicks. I think the Yankees have one. So, but it'll be such a game changer. Right?
Like we had for 6 years, we were the stretch and massage, practitioners for the Detroit Lions. And so we did FST, and during that time, they were often one of the least injured teams while we were there doing FST, which is kind of coincidence or not, I'm certainly not taking credit for that.
Uh-huh.
But it's a, there's got to be something. I think we've contributed to that a little bit. At least I like to think so. The soft tissue work in the FST. And most of these professional, like especially in the NFL, a lot of them have seen FST or have experienced FST, at one point, or we introduce them, and as they're a rookie or if they're young in the league, we'll do FST on them. And they're like, man, that feels great, and it's great, especially for that sport. And FST was basically designed on NFL players. When Ann would work on Donovan McNabb and all these other NFL guys, she would use a weightlifting belts to strap their leg onto a flat bench and stretch them out right on a bench and start developing it that way early on. She would share some crazy stories, with this stuff.
What were some of the stories, since you're like one of the earlier, pioneers of FSC?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of stories have you heard of? Like, because I've never met Chris and Ann before in person, but you took in the courses.
Oh man,
so.
You got it. You're missing out. They're just good people, brilliant. They're hilarious. Kevin Darby does a fantastic job in Canada running that aspect. Yep. But where he is in Toronto is pretty close to Detroit. It's like a 5-hour drive maybe. But but there's a reason I send all my therapists, if it's an option, to try to get them to Arizona, because Chris and Ann, of course they're the ones who started it and learning from them. But the experience they give and the personality, it's quite molding. It's not just with the FST aspect, but I feel like they change the perspective of a therapist with the way they challenge you, they test you, they make you think different. And when you walk out of level 1, you see the body differently. Therefore, no matter what modality whether you're a trainer or a therapist, massage therapist, you see the body different and you decide how to treat issues differently in a more effective, more efficient way. So it's a total game changer. They give you a new prescription on your glasses so that you can see things differently in a better way and with a little bit better clarity. And then level 2, you see that a little bit more, and then level 3 is just, it's more having fun with it. You learn a lot of tricks and tips and stuff. Level 3, it's how do you play with it? How do you get creative with it? And that's part of the beauty of FST. First, level 1 is very structured, and it's very like almost choreographed. The level 2, they teach you how to be a little bit more creative and how to play with things and how to use some of your level 1 stuff, manipulate it, tweak it, so it can be more effective. And when to use, like, okay, how can I be effective if I would do 3 stretches on somebody that would help unlock their hip? What 3 would those be? Boom, level 2 teaches you that stuff. And then level 3 is like, it kind of creates art and science come clashing together to deliver results for people quickly, and you learn a lot of different things. And now I think there's only one level 3. When I did level 3, they had 2 different level 3s. They had one for like trainers and another one for like licensed professionals, like massage therapists, physical therapists, chiropractors, doctors. And so they did a lot more hands-on with the level 3 for licensed practitioners. So there was a lot of not just stretching, but like a lot of palpations, a lot of trigger point work, and a lot of pin and stretch type movements.
Yeah, I know that they have the level 4 too, right? On that they working more on the pelvis.
Yeah,
I think, and other things. I know it's only like this last year that they just started at level 4.
Yeah, I started that, and I know like actually I just talked to Chris the other day, and and he was sitting on level 4. He talks. This is what really sparked. I'm like, oh, I got to go. Like this looks like a lot of gold nuggets for me. It's the ribs. He says there's a lot of techniques to help with the ribs and the rib cage, and I see a lot of issues of thoracic immobility because the rib cage is so locked up and it's not pliable enough to allow the T-spine to rotate or extend or flex like it should. And when the T-spine's out of whack, it puts a lot of load on the lumbar, and that creates issues. So, and also if T-spine's out of whack, it'll create a lot of shoulder issues as well, just because it inhibits a lot of the scapular glide and whatnot from there. So I'm like, rib stuff. The ribs are always kind of hard to get to, and there's so many of them in intercostals and blah, blah, blah. And then you got the diaphragm that also kind of, this inner umbrella inside the ribs that does all this stuff and inhibits so much. And so when he's like, yeah, we got some stuff with the ribs, I was like, all right, I'm coming.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
Excuse me.
It's crazy. I guess for you, you have the experience and whatnot. So hearing about your friend who did the Stretch to Win Institute, did you even have any hesitancy when you like enrolled in the course, or were you kind of sold already when you
I
first
was I
enrolled
was I
level
was
one?
hesitant. I was pretty hesitant with that one. And like I said, I was pretty hesitant probably on the Thursday or Friday of the certification course.
Yeah.
These things are an investment in yourself, and you've got to try to find your gold nuggets to take with you. So even if you just do like a weekend course, you got to find out where the value is and what the perspective is, and try to find something. That one was different. There were a lot of gold nuggets, but I just couldn't get my feet in a good foundation for a little while because it was so different than traditional stretching that I had learned for decades before. And so that feel was just so unique. And oh, when you stretch, you got to stabilize this and lock out the knee and do that and do this. And like where FST is a lot more flow, and you actually get to see like, okay, when I don't want to stabilize the hip because when I rotate the femur, I want to see if the pelvis comes along with it or not. So it's a constant assessment of almost every joint, and more important, every relationship from joint to joint.
Mm-hmm.
How does the hip affect the low back and into into the thoracic spine? So when I internally rotate the hip, does that pull the pelvis and torque out the low back, and what happens there? And so that helps me really point the direction of what I want to do next. What this body needs. You learn quickly. A lot of people's hip rotators don't like to rotate.
Yeah, definitely. I find that often
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So for you, can you share with me some real life experience results of some wins of that you've seen, how clients have used fascial stretch therapy with sessions with you, throughout the years?
I mean, you know, I've been listening to a lot of your previous podcasts. Kind of,
Mm-hmm.
just to hear what kind of things we want you to talk about and get an idea of the flow of things. And then this one, I keep thinking about. I struggle finding this one, and I'm like, why am I struggling finding this one? And I kind of came to the realization that it's these wins and these like big breakthrough moments that a client has because they're like, that's something we shoot for with every session, with every appointment. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of happens all the time here. That's our goal. They got to walk out better than they came in, and we also need to create these moments where it's like they have hope. Oh wow, I didn't know that my hips could feel this way. I didn't know that. It's unreal. My legs feel so light. Gosh, I can squat all the way down, and it feels like natural to squat down. It's like I can touch my toes, but I haven't been able to touch my toes in years. You hear all this stuff, and I always love the crazy walks when somebody comes in with like a hip issue
Uh-huh.
or whatever the issue might be, and you work on them, and they get up and they look for that issue. So they come up and they start, walking like a chicken and looking like a flamingo, like try to find the pain in their hip. So they're kicking their leg around and for some of the old timers, the movies of Monty Python and the crazy walks they did, and that's what they started doing. And like I can't find, the pain's not there, and they start moving all like oh my gosh, what is going on here? I can't feel
Yeah.
my shoulder pain. I can lift my head up and it feels okay. And those are the great moments.
Mm-hmm.
And that always I guess leads me to one of the questions I hear you ask a lot of: how do you get business, right? How do you build a business? So I don't mean to jump the gun here either,
No.
but when you create those moments, that's how you create a raging fan for what you do, and that what throws gas on the fire of word of mouth,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because they're like, oh my gosh, I went to go see so and so, and I had my shoulder pain. Is like, God, because I did 6 weeks of physical therapy. I saw this doctor, saw this and that, and did this. And he goes, I can't believe in 1 hour my shoulder feels 85% better than it did 10 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they start talking to their people, when they have their, lunch with their friends, when they're talking to family. And that's how you create a raging fan, which is an outstanding book, by the way. A raving fan is the name of the book. And that teaches you how to create these moments that people want to go on the rooftops and shout your name. And today, modern day rooftop is they'll post about you on social media,
Yeah.
right? That's a modern day rooftop of yelling, this guy helped me a ton and I love this guy. My shoulder feels great. Go see him. And that's how we create the raving fans. And then during the sessions, how you talk to them and explain and educate, those are the words that you're basically training your sales force when you talk to them and educate them.
Okay.
So give them some keywords. Don't make it complicated. Just be like, you know what? 40% of the range of motion comes from the capsule of the joint. And this focuses on stretching out the capsule of the joint, not so much the belly of the muscle between the joints. So therefore, you're going to get more range of motion, and you're going to walk out of here feeling a lot looser.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, all right. And so when they talk to their friends, oh yeah, they focus on stretching out my joint, not so much like just the muscle. I go, yeah, well, the capsules that's fascia, right? That's just all connected tissue. So, just doing those little quick, things that they can repeat to others. And then that's when the word of mouth really starts coming in. It's like, yeah, so-and-so told me that you helped her with the shoulder. So I wanted to come in, or my brother has something, or my, so-and-so has something going on with the shoulder. And it just goes from there.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, many people kind of comment to the podcast. I think it's the word of mouth. I mean, you can do so much on the social, but I think even in my past sales experience, the word of mouth is how you get the best clients, because they're continue to refer to you, right?
Yeah.
And
you develop that bond and that trust, which is invaluable. So, I mean, with, when they post about you, I feel like, yeah, I can post myself and be like, hey, I'm Jeff, I can help your shoulder, and this is why. And then I can do a clip of me working on somebody's shoulder. Great.
Mm-hmm.
That might hit some people, do this. But once somebody else posts about you, say, oh my gosh, I can't believe how great my shoulder feels. Thank you, Jeff at TriKovery for fixing this. I've been so annoyed, and now life can go on. That's going to be much more powerful than you posting about yourself, having somebody post about you and doing that. So, I'll take that every time, because I always feel like the post should be about the clients and not about us, not about TriKovery or me, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm kind of old school too. I think social media still weirds me out, but it's kind of the way things are now.
Yeah, it is. No, but I think definitely I agree that the more that other people are talking about you instead of you talking about your business, I mean, people take other people's, opinions and recommendations above someone who is trying to push their brand and their business. So I always look for recommendations from friends. So it's definitely still old adage.
Yes.
What would you say? I'm kind of going back to, I guess, the beginning of Stretch to Win, but like, what would you tell to, future people who are looking to do the Stretch to Win course? What would you tell to that one person who's on the fence? Typically, like yourself, like they came in, they weren't so sure, throughout the whole course, but what would you tell them?
Kind of like, first thing I would do is probably ask them of what their purpose is. How do they want to use it? What do they want to do with it? I was like, oh, I'm just, I thought it was neat and I just want to do it. And I said, okay, that's cool too. Why not? But it's like, I want to build a business. I want to do this. And I said, okay, who do you want to work with and what's going on with that? He goes, because you got to, no matter what it is, no matter how great the certification is or the training is, if you don't have the purpose behind it, it's the chances of it fizzling always, I think, increases. So you got to have your purpose and what's, why you're doing that, and stay focused on that, because there's so many distractions that goes on with this stuff. And the busier you get, the more those distractions become not good and pretend to be negative. So, so I would basically say this is a great investment if you really, really want to start helping people and have a good foundation of how to look at the body and meet some really good quality professionals, around the world, especially in their country. This is a great way to go. It's great networking. You meet some really, really smart people in these FST classes, and they're great brains to pick. I mean, to this day, even people I met in level 1, 13, 14 years ago, I still talk to this day, and I'm like, hey, what's going on with this? Hey, I saw you doing this. He goes, how'd this work out for you? He goes, hey, I was looking at this. Have you ever heard of this? Because I got somebody of this going on, and I'm kind of struggling. Any thoughts? And we still talk a lot from that perspective. And that's part of the great thing about FST is that it attracts high level professionals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's it's a little bit expensive. It's it's $2,000 or so for a certification course, which is, it's pretty good, but you also get 40 hours, so it's a lot of hours. And it's a big commitment, because spending a week away from work and then in a hotel and flying out there, if you're from far away, it's a big investment. How fast will you make that money back? Was the question you asked for every investment. And
Sure.
I'd say if you can make your money back within a year and still do this beyond, he goes, it's worth it. And for me, when I did my level one and I came back, my schedule got so booked out. I made my money back in about 6 weeks after I paid for everything. And I got to the point where I actually sent two of my other therapists out to get level one certified with about 6 months later, because I was actually losing money by not sending them
Uh-huh.
because people were waiting to see me instead of seeing other therapists.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually paid for all of their stuff for at level, and everything, and to get certified in this. And then that I got my money back from both of them in about 3 months.
Okay.
So
Which I'm interested because you're kind of leading me into the next subject about
yeah,
the business, growing your business.
yeah,
Obviously, you were the one, but how did you scale your business? You were the one. How did you find the practitioners? What's your thought process of finding
very,
the right type?
very organically.
Okay.
It's very hard,
Mm-hmm.
but at one point, more than half my team were former clients,
Ah.
and they had come in, they have done this, and they were like, "This is amazing. I want to do this too. What do I need to do this?" Some were kind of in the profession, some were not, and just like went to school for massage, got their license in massage therapy, and I've had some actually go to FST and they came in. It's like, "Hey, I'm ready to work now." I'm like, "All right, I guess, all right, let's do this. I guess you're gonna work here for a little bit and figure this out." And so it kind of went to that standpoint, and and I'm so thankful for everybody that's ever worked here and put time into helping Tri-Covery from one perspective or another, no matter if they're here for a short time or. I have one therapist has been with me for 13 years, 12 years, 12, 13 years. Another one that's been with me for 11 years. So between the two of them, they've been over 2 decades, which I find that very just humbling. I'm honored that they've put so much of their life into here, and they value being here, and they're comfortable, and they feel safe, and they feel like they can continue growing here. And they're a huge part of what's going on. But then therapists that were just here for a short time, I learned, they learned, and I feel like everybody's grown because of those moments too. But finding the therapist, it's very difficult. It's probably the biggest limiting factor to the business growing.
Mm-hmm.
Just finding the right people with the right frame of mind and that want the structure of being a part of a team and being relied on. Um, that's kind of been a big struggle.
Yeah, I think I've always looked into different ways to grow your business. I'm more of the type, like, if you're the servant leader, serving the people that you're working with, not working for, but if you're working with, they're more likely to follow you and to work, to stay longer. So I think it's definitely, it shows to me, those two therapists that have been around for 12, 11 years, that, you're doing something good. You're doing something well, that you're helping them out and you're paying for their certification. It's shown that you're investing in them, right? To become better
Yeah,
at their craft.
yeah. I mean, that's one thing, investing. I've always said it was, if I'm going to invest in anything in my business, I'm going to invest in my people and let it, you know, and let them know that I believe in them, that I want them to do better, and and teach them new skills to help them get better, because we're only as strong as our weakest link. And if a therapist is like more inexperienced and they're the weak link, then we need to collaboratively try to get them better. We need to streamline their education and experience, and okay, what's the situation that we can create that would allow that to happen naturally, even. So we try to do things around here, and it took me a while to get to that area to commit, where like on Tuesdays, it's my day where I don't really see clients, and I'm just here in the office, basically for my other therapists to talk, to discuss, just some FaceTime, but we
Mm-hmm.
can have our playtime where I'm like, "Hey, how's things going? You want to, work on anything?" He's like, "Yeah, I got a client who's got some shoulder stuff going on, or plantar fasciitis, and I'm struggling with this." Okay, cool. Let's get on a table, let's work on each other, and play around and learn this stuff and try to problem solve it. And that's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed that. That's something where I'm like, man, I wish I started doing that a long time ago.
Yeah. Um, that's great. The mentorship part. Obviously, you're the guy that people are probably looking to for advice and expertise, and especially the fascia guy, obviously, because you're the one who brought them in. So my next question for you is, I guess for you, besides the word of mouth, what has been the most beneficial for you in growing your business? Word of mouth, I know we know that already. It's the great thing, but other ways that you found growing your business.
Well, we do a lot of events, meaning active competitions, whether it's CrossFit competition, a marathon, a triathlon of some sorts. We do a ton of golf outings.
Mm-hmm.
Golfers has been a big part of our market. That's been really, really excellent. And you got to really think about, who do you want to focus on? Whenever I bring a therapist in, I'm like, oh, what do you love to do? And I'm like, oh, I love mixed martial arts. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's start talking to some mixed martial arts gyms and talk to them. And because you understand it, you love it. If you love doing it, especially, and you participate in it,
Mm-hmm.
that's easy. Let's go talk to them, and you can learn more about it, and you can put you in that environment more. And I think the therapist would have a blast with that. And then his skills would benefit, the athletes as well. Like if I have a therapist that's a runner, that's great. Go run some races. We're team company's going to sponsor you, and then just be in the environment, be in the community, and just contribute to it. And then all that other stuff kind of falls. Like I love golf, so we work with a lot of golf outings, and we probably do about, I think this year we have maybe 30 golf outings that we're working at.
Wow.
That we set up a tent, and we have usually a table or two or whatever they need, and we stretch the golfers out, and we do like quick 5 to 8 minute treatments and sessions just to get them ready to golf, near the driving range or near the clubhouse, and
Mm-hmm.
we get them ready. And the feedback we always get is a lot of fun, because like, oh my gosh, my back doesn't feel loose, and he said, man, I'm hitting the ball further, and usually like hole 11 I start falling apart because I'm so tired, but I was able to play all 18, and I felt great the whole time. And so that's how people start to hear about us. And we always hand out cards, and we always kind of give them a game plan, quick education of what's going on, what we're doing, and why we're doing it. And be like, hey, if you ever do come in, this is probably what we focus on, because you're really stuck in the thoracic spine. Your T-spine's really, and that what doesn't want to rotate. It can make you swing a golf club like you're made of a Lego, and just your hips and shoulders are going to move together. We need to get some separation.
Yeah,
and that'll be huge. Yeah, they always talk about that. With the golf stuff. I'm like, yeah, so let's make that happen. Here's our card. Call us. We can help.
cool.
So just getting your hands on people is huge, right? Because you can give them a card, you can talk to them, but 5 minutes on a table is going to be a lot better than 30 minutes of discussion.
Yeah, I think I've always talked to clients who's like, let me show you what I do instead of telling you, because what we do at FST, it's totally, they have to be on the table to do that manual therapy so they can feel it. And then like you're saying, just kind of, have a raving fan. So my last question for you, Jeff, is what's your long-term goal? You're 14, 15, I mean, probably longer with TriKovery, but what's your long-term goal? Do you want to continue to branch out, open a new location, grow a business? What is it?
So I used to have 3 offices, 3 locations. And manpower is always the hard part, keeping therapists and hiring them, and keeping all the rooms busy with that. And I eventually got to the point where I'm like, you know what, I just want to focus and not manage all these locations. And you can't put them too close together, which means it's a lot more driving for me. And I find myself in the car more than in a treatment room. And that, I feel like that just doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I can, like, you know what, I'm just going to shrink. And so now we're back to one location here in Novi, Michigan. And we have 6 treatment rooms that are here. We have a recovery area where we do like Normatech, and then we have a pulse electromagnetic field machine that gets used a lot. And then we have a gym for all the corrective exercise. And then we also have a little lab where we make our own CBD products and magnesium lotions, along with all of our treatment lotions and ointments and whatnot. So focusing on becoming extremely efficient of what we do. And it's hard to do when you start scaling, when you start getting big, and you don't have the scalability of your processes and your procedures, and going from there. So now I kind of want to tighten the belt a little bit, and then just focus on the extreme quality of what we do. And mass producing quality is not easy.
Mm-hmm.
And so trying to figure that out with the onboarding and how we train our therapists that come on board, and how do we continue with the growth. with them as a therapist in the treatment room. So again, sorry, I keep going on these side tangents, but the long-term goal, I used to focus so hard on me helping as many clients as possible, but now I'm more focused on, I want to create therapists and help mentor them to help get them better so that we can help as many people, because that's how we help more clients, by creating
Mm-hmm.
more quality therapists and training how they think, their technique, their skill, their mentality, even holding them accountable. I think that's a huge thing, because a lot of therapists don't are used to the freedom. They're used to working when they want and having, doing this. And I like to start more mid morning or late morning and do that. I'm more of a night owl and all that stuff. And I go, well, if you're lucky, you have that choice, but most of us just need to work when the clients want to come in. So you work when you need to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you will get to the point where I'm like, all right, I can make my schedule, and I found the type of people that'll fit in the schedule that I want to work, and then that's great. But when you start, it's not like that. I mean, I used to be home on a Sunday night, eat dinner with my family, and then come back to work with clients at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, because that's when they were available. That's when we can do things, and that's just what you do.
Mm-hmm.
There's a time to grind and get it done, but the game plan is you've got to strategize how to get out of the grind eventually, because you can't stay in the grind long term and burn yourself out, and that's no good for anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your plan to get out of the grind? And I'm in that phase now. I put in my time to grind, and now I'm looking. I shouldn't have to grind anymore. I shouldn't be grinding. Doing massage therapy for 26 years. 26 years of grinding sounds terrible. Yeah, my family sacrificed enough.
Mm-hmm.
Of not being home, of being weird hours. Wife never knows when if I'm home for dinner or not. You're going to be home at 4 o'clock? I was like, I might be home at 4, I might be home at 9. It depends on if, people call me and I might have somebody coming in. And I go, well, after a while, and you just kind of learn. I'm like, all right, I gotta change this, because my wife shouldn't have to be that patient with me with this stuff, and not ever feel like a priority to me. The kids should never feel like they're not a priority to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not fair, and it's just not healthy to just grind all the time. They say if you are busy surviving, you never have time to dream.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You can never think about the future because you're too busy just scrambling to take care of now. I'm just scrambling to keep my head above water. Well, if you're busy just trying to keep your head above water, you never look around and see where the land is so you can head a
Yeah.
direction, right? So you can't just sit there splashing around trying to keep your head above water. You got to calm down and figure out a way, what direction I want to go, where's the land, where do I want to be? Because that's my long term right there. Because eventually I'm going to drown if I don't do that. Long term, I really don't have a long term goal other than just keep developing therapists and trying to help create a higher quality of therapy, in the area I'm in. Everything else after that kind of falls into place.
Yeah. Well, I think I know for sure that whatever plans and whatever way that you're going to, it seems like there's a lot of great momentum for you and your team. Because I think I did run across Patrick, I believe he went to my level 1 course. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. He went up to Toronto.
Yes, correct. So I know there are people there. Past people, like I interviewed John. So there are people that
Mr.
I know who.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. There are people that
he's great.
He's a character. But there are people that I know that have raved about Tri-Recovery, especially in the Michigan,
Tri-Covery?
Detroit area. Yeah, Tri-Covery, sorry. There are people who I know who've talked about you guys. And so that's why I'm glad that I had this opportunity to interview you, learn more about your story and whatnot. So thanks, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure.
At the end, I always invite my guests to showcase and to share with the audience how people can book a session, learn more about TriKovery. So please share with the audience, whether it's the website, a phone, email, best way to contact you and the team. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably our website, which is tri-covery.com. So it's tri-covery.com. From there, you can schedule. We have a live schedule that's right on there, and bios on all the therapists here. Also on Instagram and Facebook, it's at @tri_covery is our Instagram, and then TriKovery Massage and Flexibility, and Novi is also on Facebook. We tend to post there as much as we can, and try to do what we can, but more highlight our clients and where we are and what we're doing and stuff. So a lot of our events end up going on there. And if we'll see, like we've worked with a lot of different athletes, pro athletes,
Celebrities.
performers, singers, celebrities, and all that stuff. And, Circus Soleil comes to town. I usually get a call, so they're always fun to work with, and you know, so all that kind of stuff. So all that stuff gets on a lot of the social media and Instagram things. So, but those are probably the best ways to get a hold of us. With the website and our Instagram and Facebook page.
Okay, cool. And then phone number and address location to your location there.
Yeah. Phone number here is 248-773-8242. And then we're located in Novi, Michigan, which is just about 20-25 minutes outside of Detroit, a little bit northwest of Detroit. It's at 24900 Joseph Drive, in case everybody wants to look up the building and Google map it. But yeah, we're in a standalone building ourselves, so we have 6 treatment rooms, a gym here, a recovery area. So it's a fun place to work, fun place to be, and we try to heal a lot of bodies.
Yeah, perfect. Well, hey, Jeff, thank you so much. Like I said, hopping onto the podcast. Appreciate you. I learned a lot about you and the great expertise that you are. So, yes, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
And for those of you, and for those of you who are listening and want to learn how to become a fascial stretch therapy practitioner, go to stretchtowin.com. You can find the next available date, or even find a practitioner near in your area. But yes, go ahead and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.